Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special guest over here, Ranya, who's learned a lot of languages. She's one of the few people that I know who speaks a lot of languages fluently. How many languages do you speak? Or how many languages have you learned?
I have been lucky to learn 8 languages, but I speak 6 of them. I speak Arabic, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, and English. But I happen to learn Russian and Japanese too. Because they resulted a little bit difficult and I didn't learn them for a long time, I didn't end up putting them to use. Or I don't feel like I've learned them enough to speak.
Okay, so what's your story behind all these languages? And perhaps podemos empezar con el español, ¿no? Porque
Sí.
hablas español muy a menudo, casi todos los días, ¿no?
Sí.
Con tu novio
Sí.
te comunicas en español,
Sí.
en español, ¿no?
Sí.
¿Y cómo aprendiste español?
Yo estudié en una escuela española desde los 3 años. Es una escuela privada en mi país. Yo soy de Marruecos, pero esta escuela española es una escuela en la que estudiamos todo en español. Teníamos profesores españoles y va desde los 3 años hasta los 17. Después hice la universidad, mis estudios universitarios en España.
Por eso,
Esto hizo que el español fuera casi como mi segundo idioma, porque todo lo que he aprendido en la escuela era en español. ¿Qué pasa? Que, por ejemplo, por la mañana aprendía en español, luego por la tarde salía y hablaba mi idioma materno, que es el árabe.
Te voy a corregir. Yo creo que en vez de decir que es casi como tu segundo idioma, yo creo que es como tu primer idioma, ¿no?
Sí, sí.
Y francés también, ¿no?
Bueno, sí, pero el francés tiene otra historia. Yo creo que sí, el francés es el segundo idioma en Marruecos.
Tu peux dire ça en français aussi,
Bah,
¿no?
je peux expliquer en français. Bah, le français, c'est la deuxième langue au Maroc. Je ne sens pas que je parle français très bien, mais bon. Le français, c'est la deuxième langue au Maroc. C'est pour cela qu'il y a tout traduit au Maroc en français. Comme par exemple, si tu vas dans un restaurant, tu trouveras le menu en arabe et en français.
Je pense que le français est plus important par rapport à l'espagnol dans ton pays, non?
Oui. Le français est très important parce que tout simplement est considéré comme la deuxième langue. Alors normalement, on trouvera tout traduit en français, et pas en espagnol par exemple. L'espagnol n'existe pas comme une langue que tout le monde plus ou moins parle ou que tout le monde utilise chaque jour.
Je pense que c'est une langue importante dans certaines régions au Maroc, mais pas dans tous les endroits, non?
Je trouve que peut-être, au lieu de certaines régions, moi je dirais certains secteurs.
Ah, ok.
Parce que ça dépend de ton travail. Tu vas utiliser en fait l'arabe plus ou le français plus. Si ton travail est un travail peut-être dans une entreprise qui utilise le français comme base, bah, tu vas utiliser des termes français, même si tu travailles avec des Marocains.
Ok.
Oui, par exemple les termes technologiques ou bien un truc qui est pas nécessairement marocain. Mais dans les rues, si tu vas dans un café ou dans des endroits sociaux, tu vas utiliser peut-être plus l'arabe parce que c'est la langue du pays, quoi. Ouais.
En fait, il y a beaucoup de gens qui parlent beaucoup de langues, non? Dans ton pays, je pense. Parce que j'ai connu beaucoup de gens du Maroc qui parlent plusieurs de langues. Je pense que tu as eu beaucoup de chance, non? Pour pouvoir avoir beaucoup de possibilités de pratiquer beaucoup de langues dans ton pays natal.
Je crois, oui.
Oui.
Au Maroc, franchement, je trouve que les Marocains sont des personnes avec une mentalité très ouverte aux langues. Si on parle sur les langues, les Marocains sont toujours prêts à pratiquer, à apprendre ou bien au moins à essayer de communiquer dans la langue d'un touriste, par exemple, ou d'une personne étrangère. Et il n'y a pas ce bloc mental de si on ne sait pas une langue, bah, c'est mieux de se taire et c'est mieux de ne pas. Et il y a beaucoup de Marocains qui peuvent avoir par exemple un accent marocain très fort. Ou bien qui ne savent pas exactement comment parler dans une langue. Mais ils vont essayer de parler. Et je trouve que une mentalité ouverte aide beaucoup quand on parle des langues.
Avec l'apprentissage de langue, non?
Oui.
One of the reasons why you were able to learn so many different languages is because you were brought up in a country where a lot of languages are spoken on a regular basis, right? So the environment, I think, helped you a lot when it comes to language learning. And I think this is something that a lot of people probably lack in their countries as well, you know, because a lot of people don't really have that kind of exposure to so many different languages on a regular basis. I think because of the history or the location and stuff,
Yeah.
Morocco is a very special case, right? So
Well, it's not like that there are that many languages spoken. There's not so many people that go around in the streets speaking all these languages, but at least they're open to it. So if you learn a language, you know, no one will judge you for it, or
Yeah.
if you don't know it very well, no one will judge you for it. At least you're trying. That's why, I was speaking about this open mentality when it comes to languages.
So the open mentality really helps
Yeah.
when it comes to language
Yeah,
learning, right?
yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I think because of the fact that French is a second language in Morocco, even though a lot of people are against that, right? But they've definitely had a lot of
Yes,
influence from
yes,
the French language.
yeah.
And so it's used on a regular basis. I think, especially in school, a lot of the subjects, for example, are taught in French in some schools, in many schools probably. And so I think that kind of opens a lot of doors for Latin languages, whether it be Spanish or Portuguese or whatever. If a Moroccan person wants to pick up some Spanish or pick up some Portuguese, it's a lot easier. They also have obviously a lot of vocabulary from Arabic to help them as well, because Arabic has influenced Spanish a little bit, and Arabic influenced Portuguese, and maybe to a lesser extent Italian, right? So I think, you know, they've already had this multilingual kind of upbringing or environment, right?
They did have the presence of multilingualism because of other cultures.
I've heard that Moroccan Arabic is one of the most distinct dialects of Arabic, right? It's one of the more different ones, and it's harder for a lot of people from, for example, Egypt or some other Arabic-speaking countries to understand, right?
So what we usually hear people saying is that, or at least I think we say ourselves too, is that for a Moroccan person to understand other Arabic countries, it's easier than for other countries to understand Moroccan Arabic.
Yeah,
you know, because we have maybe a difficult set of words when it comes we have a difficult Arabic for them because our Moroccan Arabic comes from Berber too.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of Arabic and the Berber language, which were prominent in Morocco and still a very important community in Morocco. So our Arabic is mixed with this Berber, but the other countries have a closer dialect to the classic Arabic.
Maybe there are a lot of TV shows, also a lot of books and stuff from countries like Egypt, and I think it's had a lot of influence on the culture of the Arabic-speaking world.
They made a standard Arabic, which is slightly easier than the classic Arabic, but it's still very similar to the classic Arabic. It just incorporated new words like technology, computer, you know?
Actually, the first time that I met you, you told me that la primera vez que te conocí, me contaste sobre este chico chino que habla árabe. Entonces,
habla
me sorprendió
libanés
bastante. Y de hecho habla español también. Entonces, la verdad que tenía ganas de conocer a este chico chino, ¿no? Porque viene de China también, pero habla árabe y, bueno, yo creo que es más normal aprender español. No quiero decir que árabe no es importante, sino árabe es mucho más difícil, ¿no? Yo creo que se escribe desde un lado distinto. Yo creo que no hay mucha gente
¿Es más difícil que el chino?
Es más difícil que español. O sea, no es una... Yo creo que no es una opción muy popular para la gente elegir en China, ¿no? Si quieres aprender otro idioma, a lo mejor inglés primero y después español. Entonces, este chico decidió aprender árabe, que me sorprendió bastante, ¿no?
Bueno, hablando de esto, a mí una vez una persona china me dijo algo muy, muy interesante. Quería saber si lo puedes confirmar o no. Me dijo que, y yo creo que pienso lo mismo sobre el árabe. Me dijo que aprender chino al 100%, si no eres de China, es muy complicado.
Creo que es mucho más fácil, por ejemplo, chabrear un poco en español, francés o portugués. Por ejemplo, yo yo no he pasado mucho tiempo aprendiendo portugués, pero he aprendido un poquito, ¿no? Entonces, sí chapurrear un poco en portugués. Chinese is like a language family, right? There are a lot of different languages and stuff. So if you speak one of the Chinese languages, I feel like it helps you a lot when it comes to communicating and stuff. You don't actually have to master the language fully to be able to communicate. But the thing is that most people that learn Chinese don't actually speak any Chinese language. Any language that's close to that language family. So I think it's a little harder. Korean, for example, in terms of literature and classic, in terms of the classic books and stuff in Korean, I think there's like 60% of vocabulary that came from Old Chinese, right? So a lot of the vocabulary is not used in day-to-day speech, but you can find a lot of the vocabulary in like formal written language, right? So I think maybe it helps a little bit, but still, it's not a Chinese language. So if you speak like Cantonese, for example, and you want to learn Mandarin, it's a lot easier because it shares like maybe like vast majority of the vocabulary. And
Can we say that because you've got the basics?
you've got the basics. It's like
Yeah.
a Latin language. If you speak Spanish and you want to communicate in Portuguese, it's pretty easy. So I would say that, in China we call them dialects, but really
They're
considered
languages, right?
languages.
Okay, so I do feel that I share the same opinion about Arabic because I always say that classic Arabic for us is as if Latin would still exist for European languages. We have this umbrella of this language that is the mother of every Arabic language in each country.
Yeah.
But then each Arabic is, we call them dialects, but it's not exactly a dialect. And I do feel that to learn Arabic, it would be easier for a person that has a closer background.
Yeah. It's a lot
Then
easier, yeah.
It's a lot easier.
So you've shared with me how you learned Spanish, Arabic, and French. So what about all the other languages? How did you learn English, for example? Even though it's like the lingua franca, and if you're able to learn so many languages, it's probably not so difficult for you to learn it. But still, how did you learn it? How did you get to such a level?
Well, I started learning English because I had it in school. And then I remember there's like this summer courses in this place in Tangier, my hometown, called, I think was like the British school, the British something. How they had some English teachers, they had some Moroccan teachers, and they offered this intensive summer courses. And my parents were like, do these intensive summer courses in English, which are like 3 hours in the morning. I think every summer it would start from 9 to 12 or from 8:30 to, 11:30, something like that. It was 3 hours a day. And then after that, you are free for the day. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want. So I was like, okay, if that's the price that I have to pay, I'll happily learn English. So I did it every summer in this intensive school. Now that I think about it, what helped me learn English was TV, videos, music. All the music that I liked was by English speakers.
Une question très importante pour toi. Pour commencer à apprendre une langue pour la première fois, qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire pour commencer à apprendre une langue? Qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire pour améliorer la langue?
Pour commencer à apprendre une langue, je trouve que c'est très important de se rencontrer avec la langue. To meet the language. Which means, on doit écouter des chansons, voir des films et voir vraiment si cette langue est une langue attractive pour nous, si on aime bien les sons. Et après, je trouve qu'il y a un truc dans l'apprentissage des langues dont on ne parle pas beaucoup. Et c'est los matices de los que has hablado antes. Je trouve que c'est très important de comprendre comment est une langue, les sons, c'est quoi la vibe, c'est quoi l'énergie d'une langue, comment est-ce qu'elle est faite, et commencer à apprendre avec cet esprit-là, avec l'esprit de je vais apprendre cette langue, pas parce qu'elle est similaire à l'anglais, pas parce qu'elle est similaire à ma langue maternelle, mais sinon parce que je commence à la connaître, j'aime bien les sons et les expressions. Et alors, je trouve que la langue est très liée à la culture, à sa culture, tu vois. Et je trouve que pour commencer à bien... commencer bien à apprendre une langue, ça veut dire que tu dois te rencontrer avec la culture d'où elle vient, la langue.
Oui, j'ai l'impression, par exemple, qu'on n'a pas appris la langue. C'est difficile de se connecter avec la culture, non?
C'est pour cela que c'est très important de commencer avec l'aspect culturel dès le début. Dès le début, quand tu commences à apprendre une langue, tu dois savoir elle vient d'où cette langue.
Mais comment on doit faire pour apprendre, par exemple, la grammaire et tout ça, le vocabulaire, pour pouvoir se connecter avec la culture, voir la télévision et tout ça? Qu'est-ce qu'on doit faire pour apprendre la base pour faire ça?
Bah, la grammaire est très importante,
Ouais.
mais si tu veux, voilà, ce que je dis, c'est que ta question, c'était comment est-ce qu'on peut apprendre la grammaire et le vocabulaire pour connaître les films et les chansons de cette langue.
Oui.
Mais exactement, moi, ce que je dis, c'est de faire le contraire. I don't want you to digest it because you don't know it, but I do want you to meet it. For example, if you listen to a song, let's say, like, you know, I'm trying to learn Chinese, you know, and it's a difficult language and I have no idea. I'd start with listening to a song, even though I understand nothing, just to hear the sounds of Chinese, like how they go up and down. And then when I go to learn Chinese, I'm going to hear these sounds and see them in paper, which is going to trigger an interest because I've heard them before and I want to learn what I heard, you know? So that's, you know, it's like this interest is starting to grow on you because you've heard it before. So it's like, oh, these are the songs that I heard in this. These are the sounds, the letters that I heard in these songs. These are the tones that change. Oh, wow. Chinese has tones, has accents. That's crazy. I didn't notice in the song that I heard, you know? So I feel that aspect is important for you to make that interest grow, because when you're truly interested in a language, la grammaire will come easier and you will digest them more because you're less resistant to something new, completely new to you in paper. Especially don't get discouraged, because take it as it is. Take it as tools to learn this new language. I truly feel that language learning is related to interest and motivation and courage a lot.
I think what a lot of people do is that they start with the grammar and vocabulary, and they will get stuck in, you know, grammar and vocabulary. They will have grammar lessons, right? But they will have grammar lessons for like a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever, and they never advance in the sense that they don't advance their speaking skills. They're not able to understand a lot of the authentic material and stuff.
Where you're coming from.
And I think a lot of people just get stuck in grammar, because if you're learning a language that's really different from your own, you have to start with the grammar a lot of times, and a lot of lessons will focus on grammar.
Well, a third advice I would actually give, this is very interesting because I heard that it's very common in China to learn grammar a lot for so many years before starting to practice a European language.
I mean, the system's not really focused on speaking and communication, I think. So it's more about passing the test, right? But I think it is important, though, to actually build that foundation, to learn a little bit about the grammar, because you have to know, subject, verb, and object. You have to know how to construct basic sentences. Right? How do you go beyond?
These basics make more sense when you put them in practice. That's why it's important to practice since the beginning. From year one, if you will, or it's the first semester, however it's divided, it's very important to have 4 parts, if not 5, but this fifth one is a new one, like grammar, vocabulary, speaking, and listening. It's very important to put these 4 in practice in the same percentage, in the same way. It means you have to give time for vocabulary. You have to give the same time you give to grammar, to vocabulary, to speaking, to listening. Even if that would mean forcing yourself to speak when you have 10 words in your head. But try to use them. Try to find them in songs. Try to find them somewhere else. And try to... This is for every language. It's very important to start practicing a language and understanding it from context. You will never understand 100%. You truly need to start connecting dots and understanding the context. Let's say I give you a page, and in this page you know 50 words, but there is 300 words. There is 300 words. Okay, I might ask you to try and understand the context of these words. Laika, elle parle français, hein?
Why is it staring at me?
Because she's so excited. She likes guests. And when someone is new, she's like, "Hi, I'm just like so happy."
Oh, okay.
Like that, she barks when she's happy. Basically, she's
Okay.
like very excited, and she wants attention.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's very important to try to learn a language from context. You can never learn 100% of the words and then put it in practice. That's not how it works. You put it in practice even if you don't know. Even if you know 1%.
I think it's very
Yeah.
difficult for them to actually have a natural conversation, for sure. But then they need to have more controlled conversations. Like, you talk about a specific thing that you've learned about, right? You learn vocabulary related to something, like house or whatever, and you're trying to describe the house. So it's like a more controlled practice. And I think in the beginning, you might have to do a lot of controlled practice about different topics and stuff.
Absolutely.
And then little by little, you're able to move on to the next
if
stage.
you learn about the animal vocabulary, you're not going to go and practice laboratory vocabulary. You practice what you learned, and then that gives you that confidence and that base, and then you learn something new, and then you put it in practice. I think that's an important point.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move back to something that we discussed before. So what are the languages that you're learning right now, and what is your goal when it comes to language learning?
That's a very good question. Right now, I'm not learning any new languages, but if I had the time, I would. I would, because languages is my passion. I personally like them, and I think they're necessary to understand the cultures and because of that, the world. So, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
¿Cuál es tu objetivo?
Sí, mi objetivo es aprender el máximo de idiomas que pueda, porque tengo la suerte de que, tenemos todos la suerte de que los idiomas son parecidos, todos vienen de idiomas madre. Entonces quiero poner en uso la suerte de tener idiomas que se relacionan entre sí. Entonces quiero poner eso en uso y aprender el máximo de idiomas que pueda con la base que tengo. Yo sé que tengo más facilidad ahora que conozco ahora que he estudiado estos 8 idiomas que hablo. Pero, por cierto, he estudiado ruso y japonés. Eso te da otra base a un mundo nuevo, son alfabetos diferentes. Entonces quiero usar esto para aprender el máximo de idiomas cuya facilidad ya tengo en manos, porque ya consigo hablar algunos idiomas.
What is the next target?
The next target, I would really like to retake Japanese,
Okay.
and if not Japanese, Chinese, because I feel like Chinese has many more things to it. And certainly, I'm sure it's an Asian language, that is for sure. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
very, very attracted to those languages.
Okay. Thank you so much for this lovely interview. You've shared a lot of great insights about language learning, and
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate a lot of the advice that you've given to our audiences. And
Thank you so much.
I hope to see you very soon.